I'm Dan O'Sabin. I'm the owner of Stealth Creative, and I've been with Stealth for 7 years. I think so many times I've been influenced by what people have said to me and how they've reacted and how they've approached problems or situations. You take that and you internalize that. Sometimes they react and you don't think that that's the right way to react. And what ends up happening is you can even take that and learn from that. You don't have to use that in a way where you're saying, I'm going to do it that way. You can say, that didn't work out, but you're still learning from that whole thing, that whole experience. So many times you're learning no matter whether it's a good thing or it's a bad thing. But as far as advice, you're always trying to pick up from people what they're doing, what they're saying, and especially when you're younger, any person you're coming in contact with, they probably have experienced something that you haven't. So why wouldn't you listen to them? Why wouldn't you try to absorb what they've already gone through? Why would you have to go through that same thing that they've gone through without at least learning a little bit about something that they've gleaned from that process? And I think that's so important. If you stop, if you think you know it all, that is the time when you're no longer effective. If you think that you have nothing else to learn, you might as well just pack it in, because that's when you've stopped growing. And the goal really for everyone, no matter whether it's your career or whether it's your life in general, you have to keep growing. Growth is so important. So learning, advice, career advice, all of that stuff, I don't think it ever really stops. One thing I do think is you get to a certain point in your career when you can give that career advice back. And I think it's so important to reciprocate and really to pay that forward so other people can learn from you too. So just as when you were trying to understand things and people were helping you, you can do the same thing for other people. What's been the thing that's been the most unexpected change in advertising, I think, is everything. It constantly changes. One of the things that I think has been a welcome surprise is the fact that when I got into the business, I wanted to create TV commercials. I wanted to create moving pictures, things that were living and breathing. And for a while there, it was this unattainable thing that you had to have so much money to do it. And this flip happened. And all of a sudden, if you had a camera, if you had a phone, you could create these moving experiences. You still had to have an idea. It still had to have some sort of efficacy. It had to do something. It had to move people, but you could actually do it, and it didn't have to cost so much money that a client that was a smaller, mid-sized client couldn't actually be there and be in that same arena with a bigger client. And to me, that was one of the most exciting things that's happened, because you can be there, you can do it, and video has become such a big part of what we do day in and day out that I find it's an exciting thing. Growth doesn't have to necessarily always be the number of people. It doesn't even have to sometimes be the amount of income that you're bringing in, although many times those things are part of what you're actually looking for. But you have to figure out, how are we going to continue to grow? And I think it goes back to even the question of what are the unexpected things that have happened in the course of a career. You have to be planning for the expected and the unexpected. So when I think about how do we plan for the future for Stealth, I think we have to have a roadmap for the future. We have to say, this is where we're going, this is what we want to try to achieve. But if we become so rigid that we can't change, we can't pivot to do something else, then that roadmap really does us no good. So we set a direction, we set a course, but we also leave enough room in there to be able to change and to be able to adapt to what's happening around us. And so I think that we want to grow, we want to do better work at all times, we want to be constantly improving, but we also want to be looking at what are the trends that are out there, and really, seriously, how do we become the trend? Rather than just look for trends, how do we create trends on our own? Do not ride the wave, be the wave. Oh, my favorite thing about Stealth, that's pretty easy. And it's, unfortunately, I think it's kind of a cliche, but I think the thing that I love about Stealth is the people. The people that we have here, and really many of our, if not all of our clients, we're all pulling in the same direction. We all want the same thing. And I think if you can come to work every day and be energized by what you're doing, be energized by the people that you're working with, that's a good day. How would I describe my career in 5 words? Be open to the universe.